Go. Good morning, everybody. Okay, Sunday morning, doing our normal Sunday morning live, although it is looking a little bit different this morning. No suit, no suit. I already got my churching in for the week. This morning, we are actually going golfing way too early in the morning for my taste. But, that's Austin. He's like, hey, let's book the absolute earliest time possible. If there was a 4 a.m. tee time, I'm sure Austin would have booked it. Absolutely. And I know Mark on the team who's golfing with us today is feeling the same way. But quickly, real estate update. Market's still on fire. Okay, that's about that. However, actually, one change in the real estate market that's happened is interest rates over the last 40 days have kind of floated up to over 3%. Now they're starting to come back down. I'm starting to see pre-approvals back under 3% again, which is amazing. I'm seeing 2.9s, 2.95s, 2.85s. I think I saw 1.275. So again, guys, fantastic time to purchase a home. Now that the inflation scare, and that's kind of the greater economics behind it. I won't get too much into it, but now that the inflation scare has kind of subsided, the bond rates, which means interest rates, have floated back down again, which is good. So again, looking to buy, it's a fantastic time. Now, question number 3 of the 4 questions that we were going over 4 weeks in a row. This one's a good one. Are you a solo agent or are you part of a team? And what does that actually mean? Okay. So this is a question that as a home buyer or home seller, I would definitely want to know from my agent for a couple of different reasons. Number one, who am I going to work with? Of course. How does your workflow work? How does your service process work? How does your communication process work? All of those things. So last week we talked a lot about communication. We talked a lot about returning phone calls, returning texts, returning emails, getting into conversations on very important things versus trying to, let's say, negotiate by text or explain complex terms by text or clauses by text, which actually I just had that happen where an agent that I was working with, not on my team, almost flubbed a negotiation because they misexplained what a term was in a purchase agreement to their seller because they were trying to handle it by text instead of just picking up the phone and having a quick 3 or 4 minute conversation and answering questions. The term itself actually did not apply to this house per se. However, it looked a little scary to the seller, who, again, most people, the 95% of Americans, only transact real estate once every 7 to 10 years, 4 times in their life. And I think as real estate agents, we've really got to be cognizant of that and cognizant that although we may do this every day, most people do not. And I feel that that's true of any profession, right? I feel that in any profession, whether it's real estate, it could be, being a dentist, it could be being an attorney, it could be being an accountant, it can be, being a doctor, any one of these things, any profession, we can kind of start feeling a little bit numb to it. And there's an old adage: as a real estate agent, you should go ahead and buy or sell a home once every 2 years, just to know what it feels like on that end. And there's a lot of truth to that. So solo or team, there is no right answer, no wrong answer, right? And it goes down to the preference of that agent and how they want to deliver a high level of service. And here's what I mean by that. So we are a real estate team. We have specialists on each step of the journey, right? And sometimes, and then this also differs from team to team. Sometimes it can feel like a consumer can get lost with some of the larger teams, or conversely, it can feel like that they're receiving better than average service, like way better than average, like stupendous service, right? So one of the fears that some people have with a real estate team is with a solo agent, you have one single point of contact, which is a good thing. The downside to that is you only have one person that's working on your real estate transaction that's available at any point in time. So if they're on an appointment, or they're unavailable, or they're out of town for a few days, that's it. Everything kind of dead stops. And there's the problem there, right? When I was a solo agent, and this speaks to the experience of the agent themselves. When I was a solo agent, I had gotten into the business. I went with the number one brokerage in the area, right? My first real estate transaction was just an absolute train wreck. My broker was MIA. I had no idea how to actually write an offer. I had no idea how to negotiate. I didn't even know negotiation principles at that point. It was rough. It was rough. And if it wasn't for the other agent who had 20 years of experience at that point, and was fantastic, and has since unfortunately retired out of the business, but he became a mentor of mine for a short time, especially through this transaction. That's how I met him. If it wasn't for that person, this deal would not have been held together, and my buyer would not have gotten that house. I'm not even going to lie about that. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And as a younger agent in the business, without a team standing behind me and helping, not only did I sell very, very few properties that first year, and I'm talking the number two, which means that my income was not high enough that I could do this as a full-time job. I had to go have another job, which again further diminished my service to my clients, and they knew it. And fortunately, they were friends and family the first couple of transactions, so they kind of allowed that to happen, and allowed me to learn from it a little bit. But had I joined a team, I would have had all of those decades of experience, including closing coordinators and everything behind me, and I would have gotten up to speed much faster. Conversely, there was an agent that had started about a month after I did. And this gentleman did decide to join a real estate team. By the end of year one, he had sold 26 properties. He was either 26 or 27, so I'll go with 26. That was now his full-time job, right? And his clients, frankly, got an amazing level of service because they had a professional closing coordinator on the team whose sole purpose in life is to make sure to land the plane as safely and as smoothly as possible. So for us, what that shows up like is, and this is one of the problems with some of the larger teams, and we are one of the larger teams, and so I'm very cognizant of this. Some of the larger teams, unfortunately, will hand people off from person to person to person to person, and it will feel like you never have a true point of contact, right? That's the downside with one of the larger teams. I feel like my phone thing is going to fall off here in just a minute, so I might have to catch it. The upside to the larger teams, and there are many teams that operate like this, who are cognizant of this issue, they have dedicated closing coordinators, dedicated listing coordinators, and a dedicated agent, but that's all you see, right? As a consumer, that's all you see. So like with our team, we're very cognizant that part of the level of service is reducing the number of people that the consumer actually sees on the front end. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't a whole slew of people on the backside of it, working the advertisements, working the title side, working all of those things to make sure, working the photography, the drone, the 3D video. I mean, like right now, we have an administrative staff of roughly 24 people on our team, right? Headed by a director of operations. Now, our real estate consumers, our real estate purchasers and sellers will only ever see 2 of those people. That's it. So if you are selling a home, you will literally see your agent and the listing coordinator, and then your agent and the closing coordinator. And that's it. If you are buying a home, you will only ever be in contact with your agent and the closing coordinator. And the reason why is because by reducing the lines of communication down to just 2 points of contact, your agent and then the buyer closing coordinator or the seller closing coordinator, who gives you those three times a week updates, we're providing a very high level of communication and specialization. So right now, as an example, our closing coordinators are averaging 25 closings per month per coordinator. That's 300 closings per year, 300 situations per year that they're seeing, right? 300 home purchases, 300 home sales. That is a high level of real estate right there. Our closing coordinators are achieving 10 years of experience each year. And by 10 years, I mean the top 5% of real estate agents average 30 closings a year. So they're not only a top 5% themselves, but they're 10 times beyond that. Why this is important is because real estate is comprised of people and real estate, right? At some point in time, something is going to go wrong, right? As much as we all want to say we deliver absolutely perfect real estate transactions, the reality is, as the real estate agent, we are actually in control of very, very little outside of the negotiation and getting people the home. And here's what I mean by that. We are not the lender. We're not the appraiser. We're not the inspector. We're not the seller that maintained the property or didn't, right? We're not the buyer. We're not any of these people, right? Most of the time, we are the deliverer of news and the helper of giving people the options of what to do next, right? Now, here's where the experience comes in. And I'll use Connie and Andrea as my 2 prime examples, my 2 main closing coordinators. Their combined real estate experience is in excess of 35 years at this point. Like Connie has actually been closing deals 5 years longer than I've been in the business, and I've been doing this for 2 long decades, right? I say long because we also had the down market, and those were a couple long years there. Here's the important part of this, right? Connie, and I'll use her as the example because she's been with me for about a decade now. She can see around corners because she's closed over 4,000 homes on behalf of sellers and buyers. So she can literally see, okay, I see red flags coming down the pipe. This conversation didn't go well with the lender. We're waiting on title and there's something going on there. She can see those things and get out in front of it. Most of the time, so our clients have no idea that something happened, positive or negative, as far as that transaction goes. And here's what I mean by that. So as a good example, Andrew had one the other day where he had not gotten the confirmation for the appraisal, and we were running about day 9. He got on the phone with the loan officer, started giving them a push. Come to find out, the loan officer forgot to order the appraisal. Literally just forgot, right? And that happens. Life happens, right? It is what it is. I get it. And especially being a solo person, and this loan officer was a solo. He had no processor, no assistant, no help. He was running hot because he had 14 loans, 15 loans that he was trying to get closed over the next 45 days. And when you're solo, and that does not to be offensive to anyone when I say this, real estate agents, lenders, anybody, it can get difficult to get through that bandwidth of transactions and not miss something, right? And that's not a knock on anybody. It just is what it is. Humans have a certain amount of bandwidth, and once you start stretching that, things get missed. And that's true of anything in life. And that's also part of the reason why Henry Ford's assembly line works so well, because you do one thing, you do that one thing very, very, very well, and you do it over and over and over. So Andrew caught it, got that appraisal ordered on a rush, still made the closing on time. Our client never knew. Now, without the experience of closing 300 deals a year, Andrew probably wouldn't have known, hey, if Andrew was, let's say a solo agent closing 2 deals a month or 1 deal a month, Andrew may not have known, hey, this appraisal seems to be running a little long. I haven't even gotten the phone call yet for it to schedule it. There's a problem here. Let's proactively get in front of this thing. The second part is, and again, not to be offensive to agents, but agents could run into that same trap where if they start working with too many clients at a time, the service level usually drops for the people that are mid-transaction, where the offers are accepted and we're waiting on mortgage, we're waiting on title, we're waiting on all those things. And then the phone calls slow down, the updates slow down, the communication slows down. So then that's the other part of it is, how many clients are you working with at any given point in time? If you're a solo agent and you're working with 3 or 4 clients, that's great. You're probably giving extremely high level of service, right? I know a ton of solo agents that are absolutely fantastic, and I love seeing them on the other side of the table because I know that they're extremely service minded. However, once you start getting up towards 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 clients at a time, and I will speak to myself. If I'm working with 7 or 8 clients, if I don't have a great coordinator behind me to help me see in front of everything and keep all my ducks in a row, my service level will go down. I'm not even going to lie about it. I just don't have the bandwidth. I'm not that talented. I'm sure that there's somebody out there that is. It's just not me. And I will fully admit that. So the question you want to ask, number 3, is, are you solo? Are you working with a team? And if you're solo, how many clients are you working with at a time? Right? Because if somebody says 8 or 10, that to me is a red flag. If somebody says 3 or 4 or 5, great. If you're working with a real estate team, awesome. Who are going to be my main points of communication? If somebody lists out 25 different people that you're going to talk to through the transaction, in my opinion, that's a problem. That doesn't necessarily, more people doesn't necessarily mean higher service. To me, more people means more confusion. Oh no, sorry, you're calling the wrong person. You got to call this person instead. You got to call this person instead. You got to call this person instead. My opinion of high service is you keep those points of contact down to 2 tops. Either one can answer any of the questions at any point in time because they're both fully versed in the file. And then you've got a whole army of people standing behind them that you never actually see. Okay. Happy Sunday, everybody. I'm going to go golf. And other than that, make it a great rest of your Sunday. Hopefully we get no rain. I feel like I'm going to get rained out, and that's okay too. In that case, I'm just going to go get a hot dog and watch the rain, and hopefully it stops and I can get my full 18 in. Enjoy the day, guys.